Hello and welcome back to another video. Today here again on Forza Motorsport, going over all of the new content and list of fixes that have recently come to the game with Update 4. Let's start by taking a very quick look at all of the new content that's come in this update, as I did already cover it in a video talking about the update before it went live. Firstly, there's a new track again. This month they've added the Daytona International Speedway, featuring two layouts, the standard 2.5 mile tri-oval and the 3.59 mile sports car circuit. This, though, much like the other tracks that have been added in previous updates, isn't actually new at all, having been in the previous title. So it should really have been in the game since launch and isn't really new content. The argument for adding it later is that they've been reworked, but this appears to be exactly the same as it was in Motorsport 7, including the pit exit being in completely the wrong and entirely dangerous location where it isn't in reality. So I don't know how they managed to make exactly the same mistake if it is indeed rebuilt. So I would say it's probably copied straight from that game. As ever with the Forza Motorsport updates, there are some new campaign events in the Builders Cup. If we go over to the featured tours, you can see the Italian Challengers Tour is going to begin, with all-wheel driven available between the 18th and 24th of January, along with the Lancia Delta Integrale Evo available from the dealership for a reduced price. The second week, between the 25th and 31st of January, we'll have the Roadster Renaissance Tour, with the Abarth 124 Spider added to the dealership for a reduced price. Then we have the Alpha Performance Tour between the 1st of February and the 7th of February, with the Alfa Romeo Giulia coming to the showroom at a reduced price. And finally, we have the Prancing Power Tour between the 8th and 15th of February, with the 430 Scuderia available in the showroom at a reduced price. If you complete all of these, you can win the Lamborghini Murcielago Super Veloce, which I may actually have to go in and do because I absolutely love that car, despite that and all of these in fact being recycled from previous games, much like the new track we have this month. Not all of the cars added in this update though are recycled. There are 4 new cars coming, but they're all in the paid car pass, so if you don't have that, you're not going to have any new cars this update. Having said that though, they are all incredibly cool additions in there. There'll be a video racing all of those very soon. But the cars are the McLaren Senna GTR, coming on the 18th of January, so that's already been gifted to people who have car pass. The Ferrari 488 GTE on the 25th, the Aston Martin Valkyrie AMR Pro on the 1st of February, and the Cadillac Trans Am CTS-V on the 8th of February. That then is all of the new content, or recycled content I suppose if you're being pedantic. Now on to the bugs and fixes then. Interestingly, this time none were actually listed before the update went live. Now no, they are in the release notes so we can see what they have said has been fixed. Starting with one of the funniest lines that they could have come up with about how this update contains fewer fixes to some of the previous ones, which in actual fact, despite lists of fixes, didn't actually fix all that much. Anyway, to see if anything on this list actually got fixed this time, I spent a bit of time testing some of the fixes listed here. These are mostly car and livery fixes, but there were also a few track fixes, so I'm going to start with those. Most of those I haven't actually experienced, so it would be pretty hard for me to test them and give a comparison to how they were before, especially as they all seem to be quite hard to quantify, saying things are slightly smoother and this and that, and yeah, unless you've driven them before, it's quite hard to say. The curbs at Yas Marina though, the final thing on that track list, I did experience them being pretty deadly before, and I'm pleased to report they are worlds better. It was particularly this one at the outside of the final corner that was a problem, and it doesn't seem to affect the car in the slightest anymore. So that's good to see. I only tested it for a couple of laps, so potentially it is still an issue, but it seemed pretty good. Then moving on to the car fixes, which is the longest list of fixes here, and some things, for example, like the first fix that essentially nerfs the Audi R8, is again hard to quantify, and I didn't use it loads in racing before, so it's impossible for me to really say if it's any better, so I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. Most of the stuff though I did test, and it does seem to be fixed, although a lot of the cars I hadn't used before, so I had nothing to really compare them to. The Buick Regal though, its headlights did appear to be fixed and working. The Citroen DS3 does appear to have all of its decals and doesn't have an Acura logo on its bonnet. The Dodge Challenger Trans Am did seem to have engine audio when I tested it at Daytona. Lamborghini Countach did have red tail light covers, which it apparently didn't previously. The 2002 RX-7's pop-ups were visible when driven from interior view. Although the RX-7's headlights did appear to be popped up from interior view, my game did decide to crash when I was actually testing for that one, so it's good to see that they've improved the stability like they keep saying they have. The Sauber C9 audio didn't sound out of place. It sounds sort of race car-y and V80, but then I'd never driven it before, so I have no comparison, and Forza sounds aren't exactly famed for their accuracy anyway, but it seemed fine when I drove it. The 1993 Skyline's boot doesn't appear to have any texture issues, and the 2002 Skyline doesn't appear to be a brighter colour than it should be. The Toyota GT1 didn't seem to illuminate anything on the dashboard when the brakes were applied, so I would say all in all these things seem to have been fixed. There were a few fixes mixed into that list that would have required upgrading vehicles, which if it was just on one car I would have leveled it up and tested it, but there were several and I didn't really want to put the time into that many cars, so I haven't tested anything that required upgrades. But given everything else on the list seemed to be fixed, I think we should probably give them the benefit of the doubt on those ones. All of the car fixes that I did test did seem to be okay, so the fixes listed do appear to have actually been fixed this time round. And last but not least, the long list of livery fixes. Again, the first couple of things listed here are quite vague. For example, stock wings on several cars can now be painted without a problem, and window tints don't cause rendering bugs on some cars, but I don't know which cars they were issues on, so it's almost impossible to test for those. Everything I did test though appears to be fixed. I downloaded and applied a livery to the 2016 Camaro, and it seemed to work. The Citroen DS3 livery mapping all appeared to be as it should be. The Ford Mustang manufacturer colours all looked glossy, none of the greys appeared matte. The Lamborghini Gallardo didn't seem to have any manufacturer livery showing when painted a non-manufacturer colour. This is kind of a shame though, it would be nice to keep the Tricolore stripe and the Superleggero text down the side when a non-manufacturer colour is applied. The 1971 Plymouth Barracuda's bonnet did appear to be paintable, and I was also able to apply a decal to it as well. Painting the Nissan Z black didn't appear to cause any graphical issues to its roof, which is great news if you're the Rolling Stones and you see a yellow Nissan and want to paint it black. Applying decals to the right side of a 2018 Cayman didn't cause them to also appear on the left side. Also, when viewing this car, I noticed that the roof now isn't see-through with the roll cage applied, which was supposedly fixed a couple of updates ago, so good to see that that's finally actually sorted. And placing decals on the front left side of the Porsche Taycan didn't appear to mirror them onto the right side. All of the livery fixes then that I tested do appear to have fixed things, which is good given not a lot of the fixes seemed to previously. However, with liveries, there's still no acknowledgement of the liveries and decals from Horizon 5, not even syncing, let alone importing, which I think is a bigger problem than any of the things they've fixed here. Having said that though, it is really good to see that, well, there's lists and lists of fixes coming in the updates that have actually fixed some of the things wrong with this game. So during my testing of all of these fixes, I did save a couple of replays in the hope I could play them to see if replays are now working. So I saved this one of the GNX and one of the McLaren Senna. Both of them appeared to open, but during playing back through the one of the GNX, my game entirely froze and crashed. So I don't know if that's a sign that they don't work or if they do work, but the game stability is just still terrible. Either way, I wasn't able to watch through the whole replay that I had saved. So that's all of the new content and fixes in Update 4 here on Forza Motorsport. It's not the most exciting update in terms of content, with a recycled old track re-added and no new to Forza cars being added to the base game at least. It is though, as ever, good to see these things return. They just should have been in the game at launch really. If however you do have Car Pass, the cars added to that are rather exciting. The McLaren already gifted to us and the others coming very soon. Like I say, there'll be a video driving those properly coming very soon. The list of fixes, although they say there's less than before, all of them appear to have actually fixed the things they set out to fix, all the ones that I tested anyway. Yes, there is still a long list of huge, quite big problems with this game, but it is certainly improving, and they're gradually moving in the right direction. It's just taken quite a long time for them to get the game kind of where it should have been when it launched, but they are slowly getting there and it is gradually improving. I'm just hoping it's not all a bit too slow and a bit too late. Overall then, it's not a bad update, it's just not very exciting or full of new content either, given they're saying they're focusing on content rather than fixes. Unless of course you have car pass, then those cars are rather exciting. But yeah, at least all of the fixes do appear to have fixed what they set out to fix. As always though, do let me know how you're finding the update and your thoughts on this game as a whole in its current state. But for now, that is going to be all, so thank you very much for watching, and I will be back with the next one very soon.